So, Bob, you know how you hate when people just go around?
Sure.
You nodded your head before I even said what it was.
I knew I would agree with you. I knew what you were going to say, and I know I don't like that, so I'm with you already.
Go around in what way? Like sitting on Santa's lap fantasies?
We did it. Didn't we have a whole episode about that? Or
Hang on, Bob, pause. What did you say, Wade?
I said, like, whenever you need to get around someone in the parking lot.
No, that's not what you said.
a reach around? Or is that what you're talking about?
Giving Santa a reach around.
Oh!
Listen, Santa, I really want that present.
Nah, I'm going to speak for all Santas and say probably not.
Let's hear your idea, man.
In sidelong glances or direct confrontation to that, there's a new law in Las Vegas that's going into effect immediately. You can now face jail time in Las Vegas if you stop walking in certain areas. Too many people were going around because people stopped walking, so now you can be sent to jail.
What area is there? Is there an ongoing tire fire in Las Vegas where people keep stopping to take pictures inappropriately or something? What?
Look, yeah, I'm as ignorant as you are because I just pull up these things and I read them word for word. I totally steal the content. I'm going to give credit where credit is due, but that doesn't forgive me for my sins.
I have so many thoughts on this. Like, a little old lady drops like her coin purse or something, bends down to pick it up, and like SWAT just descends from the sky and it's like, you can't stop walking here, and just hauls her straight off to prison. Or a kid's like walking across, it's like, no, I'm not going.
I'm seeing that this law is creating so-called pedestrian flow zones. So if you stop in a flow zone, which includes things like the pedestrian bridges that cross the Las Vegas Strip, you could face a $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail. You know what? Wait, you know what? This is coming around. I'm figuring this out. You know what this sounds like? It sounds like this sounds like a thing that when you read it on face value, you're like, really? Is this a problem? But this sounds like a tool to weaponize against like unhoused people or like people who are like busking or doing art on the street or anyone who is like out on the street, whether it's because that's like where they live currently or whatever. Like this sounds like that kind of thing, like hostile architecture where you design benches with spikes on them so that it's uncomfortable to lay on them or sit on them or use them for anything benches are for, shit like that.
I guess depends on what the areas are. I was thinking it was more like Flonase, but for people, more like a floatase to keep things running, you know, so you don't get stuffed up.
Maybe I'm overreaching. This is one of those laws where it's like, is this really a problem? Really?
Before we steal anymore, I gotta give credit. You remember how I was gonna give credit? I need to give it now before we gotta give credit. From the Men's Journal, Chris Malone Mendez. Okay, continue with the stupidity.
Hey, well, look, I see the Men's Journal. I'm reading from NPR, okay, and a much newsier news source, probably.
I'm reading between the eyes or between the lines. I'm not reading.
I have a question.
I don't think anyone had any doubts that you weren't reading. You don't have to say it.
If you violate the law, you could be charged with a misdemeanor and face up to 6 months in jail or $1,000 fine. And let me tell you, I feel like these don't line up, and I don't know law real good.
I agree. $1,000 fine or 6 months free room and board.
That is how some people will see that.
Well, okay, so misdemeanor. What is even a misdemeanor if it can face 6 months in jail? Misdemeanor to me sounds like, oh, you have to do community service or something like that. 6 months in jail is not a small amount of time. I know that sentences can go up to life or 20 years or something like that, but for standing in one spot, for not even loitering, really. Like, you see the pretty lights.
For almost loitering.
Almost loitering.
What constitutes standing still in a spot? Like, for any amount of time? For, like, 5 minutes? For, like, how long do you have to stand still?
There's no definition here in this article. What does the NPR say?
It is about 80 words. There is no definition. This new rule apparently comes just in time for Vegas to host the Super Bowl, apparently, is part of maybe what motivated this. But otherwise, I got nothing.
Those football fans, they're known for standing in the streets, not moving and not trying to get to their football game.
I mean, if they're drinking, that's the thing
true.
in Vegas in general. Most people who are in Vegas are there to like drink or gamble or both, or see strippers or whatever. There's some top line things that go on in Vegas.
It is kind of genius.
It's genius.
You make a line to get into the stadium.
You just arrest everyone in line.
You don't let people in, and you make sure that the line goes into one of the no stand zones.
You just have a bunch of cops standing on both sides of the herd of people who are trying to get in. The people in line are just like, oh, I got 8 inches back and forth. I gotta keep. The cops are like, yeah, you better keep moving.
If you spin in a circle, are you okay? If you're just but in the same spot, but you're just spinning in a circle constantly, are you okay? Are you safe?
Yeah, do you have to like, be like not moving at all, or can you just like stretch your arms a little bit? Is it your legs have to keep moving?
I would be super curious to read any of the actual verbiage of this law, because it's as my legal training is tingling inside of me to say, man, is it tough to define what it means to stop moving.
But if there's like a street side VR thing with one of those infinite treadmills, and you're like, I'm gonna have some fun, but you're running in place and you just hear woo, woo, woo. You see stars light up GTA style in your headset.
You're visiting Vegas with your grandparent who rides a jazzy scooter. The battery dies halfway across. They're just sitting there on their scooter like, oh crap! Oh dear! Oh, and the cops are like, "Oh, I got one! Yeah, you need that scooter? I don't think so. On the ground!"
Cops yell, "Stop!" You stop. They're like, "You can't stop there!"
Freeze! What if that's the idea for the law? It's just a tag on offense. Every time the cops are chasing, they're like, "Freeze!" And the person's like, "Huh, me?" And the cops are like, "He's blocking people. Add that to the list. He stopped walking."
Well, that's all we have for the Las Vegas new law. In other news, from Newsweek, by James Bickerton, Kentucky Republican pushes bill to make sex with first cousin not incest.
I heard about that. I live not too far from Kentucky. Like, it drafted across the river, and we got this sent to something horrible. And we were like, "What is that?" Looked at the news, and it was like, "Yeah, Kentucky man wants to fuck his cousin."
I'm not here to cast judgment on other people. I've never wanted to have sex with a cousin, but things happen. I don't know. I don't think the law saying or not saying that that's incest really changes how people are going to see it.
Is there a national law against incest? Is that like a crime, or is it only a crime in certain states?
I don't want to Google this, but I'm about to Google this. Is incest illegal?
It's how you Google it. Don't phrase it, what state is it legal to fuck your cousin? That's different than which.
Ohio doesn't criminalize incest.
Wade.
Getting closer.
Don't wade me.
Incest is a Class A felony if committed with a person who is less than 12 years old. I feel like that's a problem for other reasons. Or with a person without his or her consent causing See, but that's not about the incest part. Yeah. I think if you have sex of any kind with anyone, whether you're related to them or not, and they are that young or you don't have their consent, there's laws about that already, and that's a very serious other thing. I mean, maybe that's just to make it otherwise illegal. I don't know.
The reasons listed for it being illegal is related to genetic birth defects that are more common in children produced in incestual relationships.
Yes, that's like the most obvious thing that people know about. But there's definitions of what it is in the Kentucky law that is trying to get removed, apparently. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of incest if they engage in sexual relations with the person they know to be, quote, his or her parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, great-grandparent, great-grandchild, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, brother, sister, first cousin specifically, and then it goes ancestor or descendant. And I'm wondering about that definition, because let's say, for example, you've got caveman ancestor frozen in ice, and they thaw out. Still alive, straight up a baddie.
Wait, hold on.
You've got...
You're going somewhere completely different.
Look, you're so far removed, you might as well be strangers, right? But this says ancestor, no go, illegal. Right. But also in this definition, it doesn't say second cousins, third cousins, and I don't remember what the definition of twice removed, thrice removed is. I'd feel that an ancestor thawed from the permafrost would be farther removed.
So your first thought of your caveman ancestor thawed was, never fucked a caveman.
No, that's not what I said. I said,
well, it just could happen.
Well, ancestors also. Okay, so
Descendants that way. So you're frozen in permafrost.
our lineages branch out.
So that caveman would be in a lot of trouble sleeping with almost anyone in the vicinity of where, yeah. No, it's very unfair to the caveman.
No, okay, wait. You suddenly fall into like the La Brea tar pit, but it's cold, right? The cold version of that. And you freeze. Oh! And you're frozen, right? 1,000 years later, you are melted from the permafrost by your great descendant, like 15 something generations apart. And that descendant wants to fuck you.
Uh-huh.
What do you do?
I fall out and I'm like, where am I? What year is it? Where's my wife? Where's my family? They're gone, but I'm not.
All right, it's a weird apocalypse scenario where there's no men left, and you're thought out as the last man on Earth. And it's all just your descendants for some reason. Only your lineage survived.
You're just going to have to dodge the Kentucky State Police for a while, I think.
I feel like if my entire lineage wanted to fuck me, I would be like, why do I have a lineage? We should have ended years ago.
All right, okay. I feel like this one got away from us.
In terms of it being illegal, if you're barring any sort of coercion or like issues that have nothing to do with it being incest, I don't know why it needs to be illegal, but I get why it's not a good thing, or like the gene pool or whatever. I don't know. I just want to know what the guy, or I don't know if it's a guy even, the person, the congressperson, the assembly member who's doing this, are they just like unabashedly like, yeah, I like my cousin, what of it? Or like, what is the motivation for this? Because there's always a motivation for a law. It's like, oh, this happened and it really impacted this family negatively, or this person got away with this crime, and so we're changing the law to make, who wants bang cousin? Someone wants bang cousin.
Well, we all know lobbyists control the government, so clearly they're backed by soitsyourcousin.com.
Cousinsonly.com.
It's our own convention, cousinsonly.com.
It was us. We did it. For anyone that doesn't know this reference, you're not listening hard enough. Listen harder.
Yeah, the motivation for the law change now, it is curious. Like, what did bring it up?
Yeah, something happened. I want to know what that story is.
I want to see them stand up before like their constituents and before other lawmakers and be like, all right, here's what we need to vote on. Our gas prices are too. There's people home. We need jobs. No. More important. You ever just look at your cousin and say, damn?
Apparently, in all fairness, as I read the article further, it was apparently a mistake.
That's how most cousin relationships happen.
No, not that part. The filing of the legislation was filed because the purpose of it, this is a quote from the congressman, the purpose of it was to add sexual contact to the statute, whereby it only had definitions for intercourse, right? So touching and groping was going to be added in, but he says that there was a mistake in that in the drafting process, first cousins was struck from the list, and he failed to add it back in.
Now cousins have to soak?
Oh, that is from this show. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did. Give people a refresher of what soaking is.
Listen, I've got another thing to talk about on this. So thing number one, somebody that works in this assembly person's office absolutely did that on purpose and was like, maybe I could sneak this in.
Maybe freedom can be mine.
But can I just say this state legislator is also a former Survivor star. I didn't know that. I find that very interesting. So
interesting.
Good job. Very good. Also, I mentioned earlier that incest is not specifically illegal in Ohio as far as my Googling found. Guess how many out of 50 states it is illegal in?
I would have assumed all of them, so I don't know.
20.
I'm going to say it's illegal in like 37.
It's illegal in 48 out of 50 states.
Damn,
we're one of two, baby.
Oh boy, what's the other one?
You know what? This doesn't say that, which is a little bit annoying, but this says New Jersey and Rhode Island, but that just has age restrictions on the laws.
While you're looking, I just want people to know how great Cincinnati is, and we've got more reasons today than we had. Freedom rings in Cincinnati.
It's questionable in New Jersey and Rhode Island, and there's just nothing on the books at all in Ohio. Ohio's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So maybe it's 48 and a half or 47 and a half out of 50 states or something, but we're in a small minority here. Good job, Ohio.
So here's what you do. Have your family reunions in Ohio.
Wow, no, nope, no.
Everyone loves their family. There's nothing wrong with a little more love.
Do have one more?
Yeah, I got something for you. All right, listen up. You want to talk about freedom? Let me give you a reporting straight from the Toronto Sun written by Dan Bilicki. This is a story of oppression through and through. Chinese marathon runner disqualified for chain smoking through entire race.
That seems like not something I've heard many runners do.
They were disqualified because of the smoking?
Because of the smoking, yes.
I can see maybe that like nicotine is a stimulant, right? So technically, nicotine, is it a stimulant? I don't even know if that's true. It constricts your vasculature or something, constricts your capillaries.
It's both.
He's right. It's both. This guy, he's 52 years old, number one. Number two, he ran the full 26.2 miles. And number three, he did it in 3 hours and 33 minutes, which if you know marathons, that's a pretty good pace.
Holy shit. That's fast.
Literally any picture on this article is either with him cigarette in mouth or lighting up a fresh cigarette as he goes, which I wonder how many cigarettes he had to smoke if he was chain smoking the whole 3.5 hours.
How many did he have on him?
Yeah, so where is he getting them? That's a good point.
It's got like one of those runner's belts that usually has water bottles, but it's just cartons of cigarettes wrapped all the way around his waist.
I would think the problem would be more so the fact that like people running around him are breathing in like secondhand smoke while running, maybe?
Oh, so there's bylaws and regulations. So there's Article 2.12 of the bylaws.
Like what? Can't use rocket boots, can't use jetpack.
Uncivilized behavior. So that includes activities such as open defecation, closed defecation, totally fine.
Well, people do have accidents while running.
You actually just keep your outer butt closed, but you poop into your inner butt, so it's out of your system.
Trampling on flower beds, that's a no-no.
Rude.
Trampling on green spaces that affect the race and safety of other runners. And then smoking. Smoking is thrown in there.
I guess.
Yeah, so don't shit on the road, don't trample flower beds, and don't smoke. Those are the only rules in Article 212.
Nonetheless, I would say that is very impressive that he did finish in that amount of time while smoking like that. Because I can imagine if he's smoking like that, his lungs can't be that great.
Yeah, and honestly, like a marathon, if you're disqualified, what does that even matter? You did the marathon.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, we don't. We say you didn't, and we are the marathon, so no.
Yeah, we're going to give you back all the energy you burned.
You just happened to run around a while.
So did they wait till he finished it to be like, by the way, doesn't count? Like they let him go the whole 3 hours. So like this guy, we're gonna let him get at the end. We're gonna tell him he didn't make it.
That was like when I was throwing shot put. And I cursed when I was throwing because I fell over, right? So I go, shit. Did I tell you guys about that?
No.
So I'm throwing in a meet, and so one of the rules apparently is you can't curse, and I'm pretty sure there's like an unspoken, everybody understands it. And so like I throw, but I'm doing a spin, so I like spin out and I trip over the edge and I fall out of the circle, which means that shot was not good. But I go, shit, on the way down. They didn't say anything at the time. I threw again, I threw another time, and then I went off to do the discus. I threw there, I did well, and I was like, okay, I got it. It wasn't until I was done with both events that they told me I was completely disqualified because I said shit.
Completely disqualified from the entire meet in general?
Yeah, none of my things counted. Like, and it was like a regional competition, right? So like, if you do well, you go on or whatever.
Sure,
like
sure.
It was the one below regionals. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it works.
It was like a big meet.
And so nothing counted. So that was all for naught. And I guess, I still threw, and that was fun, but it's...
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You said shit. No, you didn't. Doesn't count. You touched a thing and it flew on its own. Doesn't count.
If you'd said it one more time, would it have canceled out?
Yeah, I should have let fly. They couldn't have stopped me, so.
The next meet you go to, you're just like, all right. And then you get everyone who's up there. You're like, you know what really helps me? Just go that extra little bit further. Just let out a little like, shit, fuck. Right at the climax. Get every guy who's up there throwing just like, I guess we're all disqualified now, huh? Funny. Weird. I don't know that.
Or you get really good at throwing your voice and you just like, you get everyone else disqualified. Fuck!
Ventriloquist disqualification.
Jeff Dunham would have been so good at playing dirty in high school track and field, man. I mean, look, I'm not really pro smoking. I have smoked cigarettes, to be completely transparent. I get why it's addicting. It feels awful. You feel like you're dying actively as you smoke cigarettes. Like, it's not a good experience, but also the chemical interaction is strong. This seems harsh. Like, if he can do that, you're running outside. I doubt his secondhand smoke does anything but blow away realistically, but it's their race, their rules, I guess. Just seems mean.
I remember in college where I didn't know what a hookah bar was. And I think you and some other people invited me out to a hookah bar where everyone was going. And I had no idea that it was even tobacco that was in hookah. I was like, wow, look at these hoses. Oh, woo, look at this.
Wonder what this stuff is. I should breathe it in.
And I just remember, I don't know if you remember this, but it was like, we hang out and chatting, laughing, having a good time. And then immediately when I walk outside, I take one breath of fresh air because the whole building is like smoked up, like it's cloudy. You can't see, your eyes are burning. And I take one breath of fresh air and I immediately vomit right on the street corner.
I don't remember that. No.
I wasn't drinking or anything. I just stood up, walked outside in the same, like, in and out, just like.
So you're allergic to fresh air?
Yeah, I think that must have been it. Yeah.
I've never been inside of a hookah bar. I've never puffed a cigarette. I've never done any of that stuff.
Have you ever done a cigar?
I've tried a cigar. I know you're not supposed to inhale it, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And it's not that I've done that, but I've also, like, I've lit a cigar. I think when I turned 21 for some reason, I was like, I'm getting a cigar. And then I go to Party Source and I'm like, go in the humidor and I'm just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, looking at all the cigars. Grab one, it's the cheapest one, go home, go in a dark corner outside and then I'm like, I know not to inhale. And I just was like, this tastes bad. This tastes like ash and old plants.
That's what I've heard. And people who smoke cigars smell terrible. Like, people would come in to buy them when I was working at UDF. And like, there were some people that came in to buy cigars. And when they walked in the store, it was just like, oh God, get out. Please leave.
Can I just say, I'm not like in the cigar smoking culture or anything, but as a person who does appreciate a very occasional cigar, at least a little bit, nothing that UDF sells should be called a cigar.
Well, I told you guys, I got a cigar whenever we were on tour, right? From a friend of mine who he was telling me I was going to be the godfather to his daughter. And then I gave the cigar to one of you. Did I give it to
Possible?
you? I gave it to somebody. I was like, yeah, I was given this because I'm going to be a godfather. He's like, oh, congrats, whoever I gave it to. And I was like, I don't want it. You want it? Just gave it away.
Yeah, no, I will say, I think the thing about cigars is for me, it's like, it's a thing you do with people. So the thing that's really fun about it is you like hang out. Usually it's like a group of dudes in my experience, and you're all like hanging out and bonding, and it's fun. The cigar part is kind of the thing you put up with to enjoy the rest of it, is my experience. Very rarely, I have had a couple cigars where like there's a taste, you get like a tingly taste, and you're like, but all the rest of it is still there. It still also tastes like ash. You smell awful. Like, I don't know how dudes just like smoke cigars 12 hours a day. Any moment they're awake, they're smoking a cigar. There are guys who smoke a cigar every day, like minimum, and will smoke a lot of cigars. And like, you would always just stink. Like, even more so than cigarettes, cigars are stanky. What were we talking about? Oh, the marathon guy. Anyway, good job, I guess. But
if I was running near a dude that was smoking, I would either intentionally fall back or try to get ahead of him. It's a strat. Keep people away from you, because that smell makes me it's not a fun smell for me.
Nah, am I weird because I grew up, my dad smoked. I mean, he quit later in life, but he smoked all through my childhood. I love the smell of like cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I love that smell. It's like nostalgic for me. I don't know why. Like, it's never disgusting to me.
I get that. I don't have that. It's not a nostalgic thing for me, but I do get that, because there are definitely smells that I know are bad smells that I'm like, childhood.
I don't know. I smell that. It's like I want to cough. I want to vomit. I just want to get away from there as fast as possible.
Well, not this guy, because you can't catch him or something like that. I don't know. I don't have any conclusion. Some weird segue.
I think there's a lesson we can all learn from this.
Conjure from the sky.